Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Hello, Catholic pilgrims, and welcome to day 293 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. Boy, today's readings really convicted me. It is all about sickness and how we treat people when they are sick, how we view people that are telling us that they're sick. It's so often in our culture that we get upset and angry with people when they claim to be sick. There's almost a tendency to side on the air of disbelief rather than belief. And we all become doctors, don't we? We're all doctors. We all diagnose everybody, tell them that it's not real, that it's all in their head. And I was definitely convicted today with Sister Faustina's readings. I actually was so convicted that it kind of made me mad that I had to read them, which is not good. But we're reading them anyway, and then we're going to talk about it. So our readings today are from Notebook 5, numbers 1453 through 1456. Today's the feast day of the new year. I felt so bad in the morning that I barely managed to go to the next cell to receive Holy Communion. I could not go to Mass because I felt so sick, and I made my Thanksgiving in bed too. I wanted so much to go to Mass and then to confession to Father Andres, but I felt so bad that I could go neither to Mass nor to confession, and because of this, my soul suffered a good deal. After breakfast, the sister infirmarian, Sister Chrysostom, came along and asked, "Sister, why didn't you go to Mass?" I answered that I couldn't. She shook her head disdainfully and said, "Such a great feast day, sister, and you don't even go to Mass." And she left my cell. I had been in bed for 2 days, writhing in pain, and she hadn't visited me. And when she did come, on the 3rd day, she did not even ask if I were able to get up, but asked irritably why I hadn't got up for Mass. When I was alone, I tried to get up, but I was seized again with sickness, and so I stayed in bed with a calm conscience. Yet my heart had plenty to offer the Lord, joining itself spiritually to Him during the 2nd Mass. After the 2nd Mass, Sister Infirmarian returned to me, this time in her capacity as infirmarian, and with a thermometer. But I had no fever, although I was seriously ill and unable to rise. So there was another sermon to tell me that I should not capitulate to illness. I answered her that I knew that here one was regarded as seriously ill only when one was in one's last agony. However, knowing that she was about to give me a lecture, I replied that at the present time I was in no need of being incited to greater zeal. And once again, I remained alone in my cell. My heart was crushed with sorrow, and bitterness flooded my soul, and I repeated these words, "Welcome New Year, welcome cup of bitterness." My Jesus, my heart is eager for you, and yet the gravity of my illness prevents me from participating physically in the community prayers, and I am suspected of being lazy. My sufferings are becoming greater. After dinner, Mother Superior Irene looked in for a moment, but she left very soon. I intended to ask to have Father Andres come to my cell to hear my confession, but I restrained myself from making the request for 2 reasons. First, not to give occasion for murmuring, as had happened above in respect to Holy Mass, and secondly, because I would not even be able to make the confession, since I felt I would burst into tears like a little child. A while later, one of the sisters came along and again reproved me. "There's some milk with butter in the oven, sister. Why don't you drink it?" I answered that there was no one to bring it to me. When night fell, the physical sufferings increased and were joined by moral sufferings. Night and suffering. The solemn silence of the night made it possible for me to suffer freely. My body was stretched on the wood of the cross. I writhed in terrible pain until 11 o'clock. I went in spirit to the tabernacle and uncovered the ciborium, leaning my head on the rim of the cup, and all my tears flowed silently toward the heart of Him who alone understands what pain and suffering is. and I experienced the sweetness of this suffering, and my soul came to desire this sweet agony, which I would not have exchanged for all the world's treasures. The Lord gave me strength of spirit and love towards those through whom these sufferings came. This, then, was the first day of the year. Also, on this day, I felt the prayer of a beautiful soul, probably Father Sapotsko or Father Andresh, who was praying for me and giving me in spirit his priestly blessing. I answered in return with my own ardent prayer. O most gracious Lord, how merciful it is on your part to judge each one according to his conscience and his discernment, and not according to people's talk. My spirit delights and feeds more and more on your wisdom, which I am getting to know more and more deeply. And in this, the vastness of your mercy becomes more and more manifest to me. O my Jesus, the effect of all this knowledge on my soul is that I am being transformed into a flame of love towards you, my God. So I am gluten intolerant. My mother has celiacs, and all three of her kids are gluten intolerant. And then, as far as we know, two of her grandchildren. It's a very hereditary thing. And when I first went gluten-free, I kind of made the announcement, and as I would go over to people's houses, it came out that I was gluten intolerant and I couldn't eat certain things. And everybody treated me like I was just making it up. Not like my husband or anything, but just regular people who I came into contact with. Oh, it's all in your head, and it's not a real disease. People are just freaking out about the food and whatever. And I'm like, well, my mother was seriously sick until she got diagnosed with celiacs. And gluten was literally killing her. So I don't think she was making up losing a lot of weight. And her hair was falling out and her skin was changing colors. And so I don't think she was making that up. There was very visible signs. And then as for myself, all the symptoms that I was having are gone now. And that's a miracle for me because I was very sick and I didn't realize it. And it was causing me a lot of problems. And I don't deal with those things anymore. And I'm grateful. And I'm willing to give up gluten just to feel good. Anyway, it was amazing to me how many people were all of a sudden doctors and experts on gluten and experts on celiac disease and telling me that it was all in my head. And it's not like I wanted to give up gluten. I love a good donut, but it was what had to happen, and I was willing to do that. However, as much as that angers me, and here's my confession, I am exactly the same way as those people were to me and are to me about sickness. My first inclination when I hear about someone being sick is kind of an irritation. I don't know why. Why is that? Why are we irritated by people being sick? Or maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not the only one. This Sister Chrysostom here, she's pretty irritated with Sister Faustina. But I guess I don't understand why I am that way. It's a bizarre thing to be irritated when someone is sick. Anyway, reading this was very uncomfortable for me because I have been that person. I have doubted people when they tell me they're in pain, especially if I can't see it. If I can't see like, oh yeah, your leg is broken, or oh yeah, I can see a gigantic bruise on you. If I can't see your pain or how you're hurting, then I guess my first inclination is to doubt you. And then the next thing I typically do is, okay, is it really that bad? And then just to think of that person as weak, I guess. I mean, even when my husband gets sick, I kind of get upset with him, which is so weird. And that's why today's readings were hard to take. I don't know if I'm upset because I'm just manifesting my worry in a weird way and it comes out as anger. When my husband and I were first married, when he would get sick, I would get irritated and mad at him, and he totally could not understand why, and I don't blame him. And we had a lot of arguments about this, and I couldn't explain it to him. I really couldn't. And he asked if I could try to work on that because it made him feel really bad. And I was like, yes, I can, but I don't know why exactly. So it's hard to fix something when you don't know why you're doing it. Yeah, I still don't know to this day, though I have gotten better. I have gotten better. I don't get angry with him or irritable, and I do try to be, more comforting. But it's so interesting, isn't it? How when people are sick and hurting, sometimes there are those of us that get angry and irritated with them. And that's such a horrible way to be, because if people are in pain and hurting and suffering, our job should be to comfort them. I mean, Sister Faustina here, she's like, I've been laying in bed for 2 days and nobody's come to visit me. And I mean, I'm wondering who's feeding her. She probably hasn't eaten. And she even says, when another sister comes in, like, hey, there's some milk with butter in the oven. Why don't you go get it? And she's like, because I need somebody to bring it to me. And it's incredible. These are a bunch of sisters, nuns, and they even struggle with this. And so I have a feeling it's a common human emotion. I don't know. It's weird, but our first reaction should be one of, oh my goodness, how can I help you? Why isn't it? That is the mystery. If any of you out there listening have some idea or thought on why this may be, please share it with the rest of us, because I'm still trying to figure this out in myself. I mean, I know there are people out there who are, always milking the system of being sick, and, they claim to be sick because they want other people to do their work for them. And yeah, there definitely are people like that. And then there's people who every little ache and pain is something that takes them out for the whole day and they can't do anything. I mean, there's definitely people that are super duper dramatic about it, I guess. And maybe we're all cautious and we don't want to get fooled by them. I don't know. But it does seem like, especially when you look online and, people say, oh, I have this disease or that. I will see lots of people are like, oh, it's all in your head. That's a made up disease. That isn't real. And those types of things. And I guess that's just a really really bad way to approach something like that. If someone is making it up and, trying to milk things and, get one over on you, I think you'll pick up on that pretty quickly. There's usually some telltale signs, but if someone's genuinely sick, I think we need to lead with compassion and offer our help in any way that we can. So, I don't know if this is something that you struggle with. Like I said, when I was reading through this, I was like, man, I don't want to read this today because it really put a mirror up in front of my face. And it's not like I didn't know it about myself, because obviously my husband has brought it up, but it's still, it's an unbecoming look. It really is. It's not something to be proud of or to wear as, a badge or anything. The fact that I get irritated when people are sick, but yeah, definitely something to work on and to be more cautious of and aware of, and to be more Christ-like. Christ went and healed people, and a lot of people came to him, and even the disciples and the apostles were like, oh my gosh, stay away from Jesus. You're bugging him too much. And Christ was always willing to help those who needed to be helped. And we should do the same. So hard readings for me today, but good nonetheless, because God always finds a way to help us root out sin, and I am always for that. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 294. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.